Hello and welcome once again to another episode here on A Girl's YouTube channel. If it is your first time of coming across my channel, hello, how are you? My name is Becca. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for constantly coming back onto the channel. Well guys, in today's video, I'm going to be telling you 10 affordable places that you can live in London. And if I talk about affordable places, I am actually referring to rental, because in the UK, you know that the cost of living is relatively high due to the cost of accommodation, because food is cheap, transport is averagely affordable, but housing forms the most expensive part, or it takes the chunk of your income here in the UK. And most people are very wary of settling in London because we know that London is notoriously expensive. Oh yes. And if I say affordable housing, it may not be within somebody's budget, because something that is affordable here in London may be very, very expensive in the eyes of somebody who lives in the outskirts of London. But with this being said, there are people that have also got job offers in London, or have had educational opportunities to come on tier 4 sponsorship or tier 4 visas into institutions in London, and you can't refuse it because the cost of living is high. So in today's video, apart from telling you the affordable places to live in London, I'm also going to give you links and websites or names of websites that you can find actually very affordable houses. There are actually a lot of advantages that London has over other parts of the UK. And if you are not a fan of living in the countryside and you still want to consider living in London, then this video is definitely for you. London is a very multicultural city where you can find a whole lot of people from all over the world that you can interact with. You can meet new people, you can try new foods, you can hear new languages. You can literally meet people from all over the world in London. Apart from that, the transport system in London is very complex. So actually the transport system in the UK is complex, but in London it's actually very, very complex, because you have the underground, you have the overground, you have the train, the tube, you have every form of transport you can think of here in London, and it's easy to access places irrespective of where you are living. So you can travel from North London to South London very easily and accessibly, because the transport systems are very good. It's also very easy to get jobs in London, because you check on websites like Total Job, Reed and Co, you find that a lot of jobs are actually being advertised in London. And if you don't mind doing any kind of job, you can easily get a job, especially for people that are coming with dependents. It is easy for your dependents to actually get jobs in London. And also talking about the vibe in London, if you're that kind of person that don't want to live a life that doesn't have vibe, you know, the energy in London is extra. I know other cities are also very bubbly, but London's vibe is on another level. So if you're that kind of person who still wants to be in London, irrespective of anything that anybody is saying, yes, I've lived in London over the past 16 months, but unfortunately I have not lived in any of these affordable places that I'm going to be mentioning. But I felt like this video will benefit somebody who is looking for affordable houses to live here in London. And London is a vibe, as I said. If you still want to go ahead and live in London, well, the decision is up to you entirely, okay? So yeah, somebody will ask if I'm encouraging people to come live in London. I'm not encouraging anybody, neither am I discouraging anybody. But if you've had a job offer in London, and apart from this job offer you didn't get any job offer anywhere else, I wouldn't tell you to leave that job offer because London is expensive and you can't afford, when I know perfectly well that there are affordable houses to live here in London, because I have friends that live in such houses. Some live in rooms actually that are as cheap as £500 in the heart of London. You wouldn't believe it, guys. I'll mention the 10 places that are affordable to live in London, and I'll try as much as possible to insert the average housing prices of a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom flat or apartment in these locations. And after that, I'll also share the affordable or websites that you can actually look for such affordable houses here in London, okay? So the first place to live in, Barking. So Barking is in the northeastern part of London, which is affordable. You can have a lot of, you know, migrants over there, and it's multicultural. It's a very beautiful city, or it's a very beautiful town to put it, and there are good schools, good transport, and every basic amenity that you would find or you need, you can find it in Barking. The next town is Dagenham, which is also close to Barking, around the same area. Affordable houses are there, and if you don't mind, you can move into such areas. If you are thinking that maybe it's far from where you live, as I said, there are great transport links that can take you to where you want to move to in and around London. The next place is Bexhill. Bexhill is also a very nice town that you can move in. It's a nice town to raise kids. It's a nice town to live in with family, because most people think that London is not a place to raise family, or is not a place to raise kids. There are actually some places in London that are more of residential, that you can live without, that the interferences of life and avoiding the noisy part of London. So yeah, Bexhill is one of these. We also have Sutton. Sutton is very affordable. I have colleagues that commute from our workplace and live in Sutton. And if they say their rent, I know that definitely Sutton is a place that is affordable. The next place is Havering. Havering is a very beautiful residential town, very peaceful. You can raise children, you can live with families in Havering, which is also in London. The next place is Croydon. Croydon is a very popular place in London that you will find a lot of black joints. If I say black joint, like food, is very easy to get foods that are foods that are your country foods in Croydon. Croydon has very affordable housing, and of recent, they are actually raising a lot of affordable homes through shared ownership or through mortgage in Croydon. So Croydon is a very beautiful town, has great transport links. Croydon is actually part of one of the few towns in London that uses the tram. So there is a tram line in Croydon. So Croydon is a very beautiful town. The next place is Enfield. Enfield is also a very beautiful town inside London, where you can live and enjoy some peace and quiet and still enjoy some affordable housing. The next place is Harlingden. Harlingden is also a very beautiful town, which also has affordable housing. The next place is Bromley. Bromley is in the southeastern part of London, which also is more of a residential place. You can have easy access into central London. Bromley is very easy to raise family. There is very peace and quiet. I had a doctor friend who was living in Bromley and traveling all the way to Kent to work. And one thing that people don't know, that there are people who live in London and work outskirts of London. Likewise, people who live outskirts of London and travel also inside London to work. Last but certainly not the least is Redbridge. So Redbridge forms part of the Waltham Forest, and Waltham Forest on its own is actually a very beautiful town which has affordable houses, and Redbridge is inside Waltham Forest, and you can raise family, you can live there. It's also like a residential part of London where you enjoy some peace and quiet, and you are outside of the hustle and bustle of London. At the same time, it has easy access inner central London, and you can commute in and out of central London and like to go places anywhere that you want. So the website that you can find such houses, we have what we call the spare room, or spareroom.co.uk. And if you've been following my channel from the beginning, I started YouTube over 2 years when I moved to UK. So I've actually been in UK for over 2 years. Okay, for those of you who do not know, I've been in the UK for more than 2 years. And when I first came to the UK, the first accommodation I lived in was a spare room or a shared house. So this is like a house that people come together to rent. So you can get like a big house, okay, and use it as like a spare room or a shared house. So let's say, like, for instance, this is my house. It's a 3-bedroom house. If I decide to make it a spare room, I can decide to rent 2 rooms to other people and live in one. So that is basically how the spare room works. So spare room, you can have professionals, like people from all walks of life. It's not necessarily for students. You can be a professional and live in a shared house. So I live in a shared house for a good 9 months, and I never regret it because it helps you to save money. And I feel like after I moved from this shared house into my studio flat, which I shared on this channel, at a point I felt like going back to the shared house, because you meet a lot of people, you share ideas with a lot of people, and you are never bored, okay? So in that spare house or that shared room where I lived, we had a doctor in the house, we had an engineer in the house, we had a teacher in the house. He was like a professor or a lecturer to call it. He was a lecturer in a university. I myself was a nurse, and we're all living in that one big house. So shared house is not necessarily for students. You have professionals who live in shared houses. Some people also live in shared houses to save money to get their own mortgages. So the fact that people decide to live in shared house does not mean they can't afford like to buy a property, or they can't afford a house, but some people have a plan in this UK that they are living, okay? So they want to save more money by living in a shared house, or by compromising themselves for a bit, make a bit more money or save a bit more and move into a better space. So you can live in a shared house even if you're a professional or you're a student. And some of the shared houses actually have accommodation for couple, okay? So you can get accommodation for yourself and your spouse if you are two people. Some of the spare houses permit you to live in your to live in the room with your spouse. So if you don't feel shy, or if you're not bothered, or if you're not very fussy about sharing stuff with other people, like the toilet, the kitchen, or the living area, or the common areas, then shared house is something you should consider. I have lived in a shared house before, and I recommend shared house as a beginner. Shared house, don't regret, don't feel shy, or don't feel intimidated for living in a shared house. And if you're in the UK and you want to find a shared house, you can go to spareroom.co.uk, as I'm writing on the screens, and I'll also leave their link in my description box or in the comment section. Another website where you can find affordable house to rent in the UK is Zoopla, okay? So Zoopla is a website that I use to find. In Zoopla, you can find shared houses as well, but most of the times it's for 1-bedroom flat, studio flat, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and so on and so forth. So Zoopla is a very big website that markets, you know, houses that are either for rent or for sale. I'm not advertising any of this website, but I feel like I have used them and I can promote them, or I can introduce them to people who are stranded. And this is also because I've received a lot of DMs from students and from even professionals who are in the UK. They are stranded because they can't find accommodation. And when I shared a video of myself living in my car, I had a lot of reaction, which I'll talk about in a separate video. But anyways, Zoopla is also a very good website where you can find affordable houses to live here in the UK. The last but certainly not the least is Living Guardian. So Living Guardian is something very recent that one of my friends introduced to me, and I wish I met them earlier, because at that time I had already gone through the shenanigans of life and I had already settled. So Living Guardian is people who have their houses, but they are either not living in the UK or they are living in other houses, but they don't want the houses to be left unoccupied, because you know that if a house is left unoccupied and there is nobody to care for the property, sometimes it forms molds and is very unkept. It can have cracks on the walls. So because they don't want to leave the property unattended to, they rather would decrease the rent or make it very affordable for people to live in it. So we have this Living Guardian. It's a community on its own where you can register. I'll leave their links also in my description box and in my comments. You can register to be with the Living Guardian. So when houses come about, they would advertise it, and then you can go and live in one of the properties at very, very cheap prices. You can have some houses, 1-bedroom flats, the whole flat to yourself, as low as 500 or 600 pounds in London. And I feel like it's a very brilliant opportunity to help to it's a way the government is also introducing to help to solve the homelessness issues or the housing problems here in London in particular. Okay, so Living Guardian is a very, very good website. But the bad news with Living Guardian is that you can't live in their properties with a child. So if you have a child or a dependent who is below the age of 16 years, you can't live in a Living Guardian property. And also Living Guardians can come into the property at any time to search to make sure that everything is fine. So if you're the kind of person that is comfortable at people just barging into your space to have a look at what is going on, the Living Guardian is not for you. They also have properties that are shared houses, just like the ones advertised on Spare Room and Zoopla, that are also, is like a complete house where people can come together. They have like various type of houses. They have studio flat, they have 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and I think they are all over the UK, not necessarily only in London. And there are ways that you can have accessible and affordable housing here in the UK. If you are going to be thinking of council flat and you are on tier 2 sponsorship, or you are on UK residency, you do not qualify for a council housing. So if you are going in for a council house, please be very, very careful, because at the end of the day, it can affect your indefinite leave to remain, because I've done a video on it about tier 2 visa restrictions, 21 tier 2 visa restrictions that people on visas, or who are on residency, or who are on sponsorship in the UK, or who are schooling in the UK do not qualify for. And council houses are definitely one of them. So you don't need to go for a council. Council houses are very affordable, and they are, should I say cheap? They are actually very cheap, and it's actually very great living in a council house, because if things spoil in the property, it's the council that is going to, to pay them for you. Council houses have moderate council taxes to pay, but unfortunately it is not for people like you and I on tier 2 sponsorship, so it's not something that you should be considering. I hope this video was of help to you. Let me know in the comment section if you've lived in any of these areas, or if you feel like there's an area that is also affordable but I didn't mention in my comment section. Please go ahead and link them up in my comment section. It may be of benefit to somebody, you never know. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this video, and until we meet again in my next video, guys, it's bye.